Religion has many victims, and these are the stories of how they survived. Welcome back to The Awakening, everyone. I'm your host, Heather.
And I'm your co host, Jezebel. Welcome in and thank you, Darrel, for being with us today.
Yes,
Good,
we are
glad to
so
be here.
excited. We are so excited. We get to sit down with Darrel Ray, and he is part of the Recovering from Religion organization. And he seeks to help people that have left their high control religious spaces find resources that they might need to heal and process the things that they have experienced in those spaces. So we are so grateful to be able to sit down with somebody like you that has worked with so many different people and knows the ins and outs of religious trauma. You know, it's one thing to interview the survivors every week, but I think it's such an honor when we get to sit down with the professionals that know what it's like to actually work with people. And you can talk about the things that you see on a regular basis with people that are coming out of these high control religious abusive spaces. So, welcome into the show. We are so grateful to have you this morning.
Thanks
And
for having me. You two seem like you're way too much fun, so I'm looking forward to this.
We
We
just
won't
bring
tell anybody
realness.
what we were talking about before we started here.
We just bring realness and authenticity to the show because it's so important to us because we were in environments where that wasn't asked of us. Performance is what was asked of us.
Right.
Shrinking ourselves is what was asked of us. So we absolutely love just being ourselves and bringing every bit of that, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, to the show because our humanity is such a beautiful thing to
Mhm.
celebrate and experience and share with other people. So I'm
we
just
always
gonna,
say
yeah,
that we're healing out loud.
yes, we are
For
Good.
healing
others that are
loudly
just
together.
leaving religions, regardless of whether it's trauma or just trying to find their way away from Christianity.
So, Daryl, were you brought up in the Christian faith?
I was. My parents even became missionaries when they retired. My grandfather was a country church preacher for 45 years. I had to go listen to him preach. If we went to visit him, he lived on a farm in the middle of Missouri. It was always a Republican sermon.
Oh, yes,
Always,
yes,
always.
yes. You know, I always like to say my parents raised me to be Christian nationalists, so they're awfully disappointed that they failed.
Yeah,
And I don't have to say anything of the reason why my name is Jezebel.
yeah,
AKA Jezebel, I should say. My government
yeah,
name is Tamara. But
yeah.
the same thing when I left the cult, Apostolic Pentecostal faith, right? I didn't know anybody else out there. So for
Yeah,
20 years, I stayed silent. I
Yeah,
never said
yeah,
another word. I didn't bring it up. I didn't talk about it because of our belief systems that backsliders were to be shamed and shunned and not spoken
yes,
to until they come back to church and, and ask forgiveness from the church that they left from, not from anybody else's church. The church
yeah,
that I left from is the only place I've been taught that I can go back and get forgiveness.
yeah.
yeah. That's a really interesting technique and tactic. And
It
almost
works.
all churches use, of course. I call that the
Yes.
guilt cycle. I
Yes,
don't know.
and shame is such a powerful tool, and it's one of the things that we see on a regular basis with people that come onto our show is it's one of the first things that they have to work on breaking free from is that
Yeah,
toxic shame because that shame keeps you conformed, it keeps you in the box, it keeps you from exploring other ideas and keeps you afraid. So I just want to know, like, what led you from being raised in this super red Christian home to deconstructing and now being part of recovering from religion?
well, I was actually raised. I was born in 1950, so that tells you a little bit about how
Yeah.
old I am. And so a lot of my formative
Not at
years took
all.
place. I'm a boomer. I admit it.
He's
Okay.
a good one, though. It's okay. Not all boomers are bad. We'll say not all boomers because that's what they like to say to us about Christians, right? Not all Christians.
Hashtag not all boomers. There you go. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was raised, but in my formative years, it was like the McCarthy era, the communists. My grandmother saw a communist in every closet and under every
Oh,
bed, and
yeah.
it was a pretty, in many ways, it was similar to the time we're living in right now.
Yeah.
The Christian nationalism was rampant back then. The John Birch Society. There was just so much going on, and McCarthy. persecuting and the U.S. government Army committee. If you know history, you'll know these references. If you don't know
Yeah.
history, go look it up.
Shame on
I
you.
was like, go
Yeah,
read.
yeah. People were persecuted. People were driven to suicide. I mean, Alan Turing died by suicide
Mhm.
in England, largely because of the LGBTQ issue. He being gay,
Yeah.
and the British government just persecuting the hell out of him. And yet he more than almost any other human being helped win the World War II. It's how bad it was at that time. So we're seeing a resurgence in some ways. I mean, it's always
Yes.
different. It's like what history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. I
It
think
does.
we're in the rhyming phase
And they're
right now.
trying to bring back that communism scare. I've
Yeah,
noticed that in the news cycles here recently. That's what they're trying to
yeah,
push back out there again to get,
yeah,
the conservatives all riled up and terrified. And it's like, y'all are
yeah.
just drinking it all.
But the other side was I was also alive and well in the '60s when the Vietnam War was taking place,
Yeah.
and I was. It's interesting. Even though my parents were conservative, they weren't fundamentalist and they weren't abusive or. And they were. I was the oldest child of four boys. I was the oldest boy, and there's a certain privilege, that comes from being the oldest. So my parents loved me uh, despite I got divorced in 1988, and I started dating, and my mother found out I was dating somebody, and she said, "Well, Darrel, I hope you're dating a good Christian girl." And I told my mom, "If she's a good Christian girl, I'm running as fast as I can."
Right.
And and that's when I came out to my religious parents as an atheist. And so and so anyway, I was raised in a conservative environment, but my brain never could wrap my head around the craziness in the Bible and
Yeah.
the craziness in the church I saw around me and in my own grandmother. My grandmother was nutty as a fruitcake, and yet she was super, super religious. And my grandfather was a country church preacher, as I said. This is on my dad's side. So I got to see it from the inside out, and they were fundamentalists. My grandmother was really fundamentalist, as my grandfather too. So I saw that, but I never believed it. And I went to college, which was my first mistake. And according to my grandmother and my
I was
aunt,
gonna say, according to your church people in your family.
actually, actually
That's where
my
you got the
church,
woke mind virus at the
yeah,
college. That's what they like to
exactly.
say.
Yep, and I got it with a vengeance. I never believed in the creation bullshit. I was
Yeah.
a evolutionist from the time I was 12 years old. I discovered some shark's teeth on the top of a mesa in New Mexico. And I came down and showed my mother and my aunt these shark's teeth that I'd found. And I said, "How'd those get up there?" And my aunt said, "Well, God put them there in the flood." And I thought in my head, "Bitch, you don't know what you're talking about."
Yes.
I didn't say that out
No,
loud.
I
I just
know,
said,
but when you think of this stuff, though, how in the hell did penguins end up on the ark? Like, when you
"Yeah,
think about the logistics of it, actually, it doesn't
yeah."
make any sense. And then when you look at the science, of course, it's just blows it out of the water, you
So
And
I
know?
let me
might,
ask a Christian, what about there only being one window in the ark? There is no way to shovel out the manure. And they're like,
um,
God took care of that. That's what they would
yeah,
say to me. God took care of
yeah,
that.
right.
How?
They had,
How?
they had a they had a shit conveyor belt, I guess. Got it. But I had a good childhood. I was not traumatized. I certainly was influenced in bad ways, but
Yeah.
I can honestly say I did not experience religious trauma. But I have seen throughout my lifetime people dealing over and over again with what I mean. I'm a psychologist by training, and I was a clinical psychologist for 10 years, and or psych after that. But what I've seen throughout my career, I couldn't understand it. It had the markings of trauma, and I could use techniques and methods and help these people and to some degree. But in 2010, I believe it was, when Dr. Merlin Winnell came up with this idea of religious trauma, it was like a window opened in my brain, and
Yeah.
I, that's what I've been seeing my whole career. It was religious trauma
Yes.
and it changed my whole attitude. And I mean, I was already writing books on this subject, but I got to give Dr. Winnell a lot of credit. But that concept opened a lot of our eyes and gave
Yes.
us a new way to understand the behavior and the inappropriate adaptation that people have to their environment. Because, as you said before we even got started, Heather, I think that we're all dealing with that reconstruction and
Yes.
deconstruction and putting our lives back together. And anyway,
And
I could talk
sometimes
all day about this, but I won't
Yes.
and
bore you all with it.
sometimes and sometimes it's not the our lives sometimes that the world can see, because I present myself fairly well on any given day,
Yeah.
but it's the internal
Yes.
concept
Right,
of
right.
trying to figure out, where do I learn how to critically think at 30? Where
Yeah.
do I
Mm-hmm.
get those tools from? When I went to college and I was struggling so much. I just left the cult. I came right up to Michigan. I went right into school the next semester, and I was like, whoa, I've never heard anything. And I went into social work, and I'm like,
Oh wow.
I have never heard these concepts before.
Yeah,
And I was like double studying. And I was like, wow, I don't even know how to think. I don't
Yeah.
yeah.
even know how to put these thoughts together in a paper to write a term paper. And then I, of course, went and spoke to my counselor. God love him and thank God love him. Sorry.
Old habits die hard.
But I remember going to him and sitting there looking at him, and I started crying, and he was like looking at me. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what an AP font is. I don't know what an AP writing is. I don't. And so he's like, tell me your story. And when I
Oh,
told him, he started putting me in extracurricular classes that required me to critically think.
Yeah.
oh,
My hardest
interesting.
class and my lowest grade, I graduated with a 4.3 GPA, but my hardest class in college, do you know what it was? It
Yeah,
was critiquing movies,
Oh,
interesting.
because I
fascinating.
had to take it for a speech class, Darrel,
Hmm.
and I had never seen those movies before.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
had never
interesting.
seen I had never seen you know so the movies that I was watching on Gandhi. I was taught he was of the devil. And
Yeah,
then
right.
I was just looking at it's a big movie out there. There's other movies. The first movie that showed violence, uh, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to critique these. How am I supposed to critique them? And while I was
Mhm.
critiquing them, I was doing it through a religious lens. And
Yeah.
my
Yes.
professor slammed me so hard. I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
I went to my counselor and I said, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. And he asked me what was going on. I'm like, I've never ever seen a movie before. My first movie was Lion King.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. First
And that
movie.
my first
Yeah.
movie ever, and I was in my late 20s, and I can tell you, when I got done, I still say, kind of tongue in cheek, but honestly, that was the scariest movie I'd ever seen.
Well, that
And
was the
that's
first
wild.
movie too,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for those of us who struggle with those critical thinking
Yes.
skills and learning how to do things differently, I'm just coming into my own, and I've been in
Yeah.
therapy for 20 years, trauma therapy for the last three. I was done with therapy. I'm like, I have to find a trauma therapist. And
Yeah,
that was
Yeah.
the
right.
other thing, that every time I went to see a therapist, I struggled with, by the end of the day, they would say, have a blessed week.
Oh,
God
oh.
bless you.
Mm.
No religious language, man.
Why? And I would go and tell them the first things out of my mouth: no religious language, no religious code language. You
Yep.
can't give this to me at all. Because I
Yeah,
had learned on my own through social media and studying that one of the things that really kind of triggered me, I hate using that word, but it is very
yeah.
what it was, is that when a therapist is sitting there looking at me and me telling them everything that's happened to me, and they're like, have you thought of forgiving?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And see,
Oh,
that's And these toxic teachings stick with us, but they also, again, it takes you right back to that shame, right? If you don't
Yeah,
forgive, you're
right,
shamed, not the one who abused you, right?
right,
And
right.
I hate that. And it's also the binary thinking. Like it's a huge thing to break free from, but you are taught you're either good or evil. That's it. There's nothing in between. So if you don't align with what it is my personal interpretation of the Bible, then you're automatically evil and worthy of death and eternal torment.
Yeah. You're preaching it, aren't you here?
Well, I was a
We've
preacher
walked
before
it.
this.
Well, so was I. I was a preacher for a 10-year time period. I actually did some preaching. But let me just say this. I'm going to go back to what you just said, Jezebel. I created two things. First of all, I started recovering from religion back in 2009 to help people find other like-minded people and go through
Yeah.
deconstruction because you're not alone. The
Yes. And
second thing I
so
created
important.
in 2012 was just right along the lines you said, the Secular Therapy Project.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the
Yes, we have it
STP?
linked every time we do a show. We put it in our
Oh,
notes because we try to provide resources for people that are listening that may just be starting their journey.
okay.
That
Well,
way they can find these
bless you,
resources.
bless you.
Yes, because we're not
But
therapists, right? But we can point you in the direction where you can find safe therapists. We can
Well, for
good.
point you in the
those of
direction where you
us,
can find good community.
But it's a
It's so
flying
important.
spaghetti monster blessing when I say
Yes,
blessing. I
yes.
just want you to know.
well, when I say bless your heart, you know what that means if you're from the
Yeah.
South.
Okay, stay back.
We all know what that means.
But Darrel, for those listeners who are listening, tell us a little bit about um,
Recovering from religion. What kind of resources do you provide? And I'd love to
Yeah.
hear more about it.
and
Well,
the
I had
book that you wrote, or the oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my train of thought. What you just talked about.
my
You
books, The
made a
God Virus.
module.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote The God Virus
Oh,
in
the gut
2000.
virus.
Yeah,
Okay.
that came out in 2009, and that got people emailing me and contacting me and saying I need help and I don't know where to go, and I couldn't help them. I couldn't help thousands of people, and that book sold so damn well. Everybody told me it would be a flop and it would never go anywhere, but it made enough money that I could retire early. So I retired 3 years
Wow.
early. It wasn't, well, there's a long story I won't go into, but anyway, I was able to use that book as a bridge into retirement. But during that time, I after writing that book, I just got overwhelmed with people needing help, and I
Yeah.
finally said, well, I'm gonna create a little group here in Kansas City. That's where I live, and we're just gonna call it Recovering from Religion. I
Yeah.
announced it. 11 people showed up. We had it in the back room of an IHOP restaurant.
I love
Uh, yeah,
that.
IHOP,
That's where
and
all our meetings are, is in
oh,
IHOP.
there you go. So I'm back there, and 11 people show up to this meeting that I just announced like a week before on meetup.com. It's
Yeah.
back in 2009. And of those 11 people, I only knew one person. Everybody else was a total stranger. And all
Wow.
I did, I said, as the facilitator, I said, how did religion hurt you? And how have you benefited by leaving? That's all I
Yeah.
said. And the dam broke open. I had
Oh,
11
yeah.
people talking and telling their stories and crying on each other's. People are total strangers hugging each other.
That is
After
so
about two,
beautiful.
2.5, 3 hours, the manager comes in and says, "We're closing the room down. You're going to have to leave." And I'm walking out, and I realize, wow, this is powerful. I've got a tiger by the tail. What can I do? And
Yeah.
that was the starting on April 20th of 2009, the start of recovering from religion. Now, since that time, we've done a whole lot more. We have those local groups that meet face to face.
Yes.
We have online groups that meet on by Zoom, like what we're meeting right
Yeah.
now. We've got trained facilitators. We've got over 250 trained volunteers. And when I say trained, I mean fucking trained. They
Yes.
are, we do not let anybody touch our clients until they really know what they're doing.
Yep.
And they know we're here for our clients. We're not here for ourselves.
Yes.
Uh, so we listen very carefully. We give to that end, we've generated a massive library of resources that are vetted. They're not going to send you back to Jesus. They're not going to use
Yes.
woo-woo bullshit on you. They're
I
just
love that. I love that
it's
so much.
it's science based, It's psychologically based. It's good philosophy. We're here to help you find the resources you need because none of you had these resources. I
No.
didn't have these
No,
resources.
I always tell people I was raw dog in deconstruction,
Yeah.
like, because I was all out here on my own. Like, I didn't know that there were things and groups and communities that existed, right? And I
Yeah.
literally was just scrolling on Facebook one day and found the new evangelicals. And I sat there and cried for a good 30 minutes because
Oh,
that was the first time I realized that there were other people out there just like me that had the same doubts and feelings and questions. And it was so impactful for me because I had been on my own for goodness a good 5 years before I found
yeah.
them. So it was just
And
like a breath of fresh air finding some community. And once I found them, I started finding more people. And that
Good.
was when I
Good.
started to get the courage to start using my own voice to start talking about
right.
these things.
Yeah.
I was
And
like, well,
it
if they can talk about it, I can talk about it too. I spent 36
Sure.
years in that machine. I can tell you all about
and it
it.
took and it took me almost 25 years because I was so afraid to bring shame to my mother, my father,
Yeah.
my
Right.
brother is married to the pastor's daughter. They're
Wow.
highly involved and integrated, and I was the black sheep.
Yep.
Um, and it was really difficult because I would
Yeah.
tell people that my mother and father died and I was an only child for 20 years. That's their story. When
Wow.
they asked me, well, do you have a family? And I was like, oh no, I'm sorry. My parents, they passed away because I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
want to tell anybody in my professional life. I was raised in a cult and I really don't know what the hell I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm just winging life by the seat of my damn pants right now.
Well, it's kind of embarrassing to be like, I'm a grown adult, but yeah, I've never really drank. I'm
Never.
36
Yeah.
years old. I don't really know what that's really all about, right? Or I don't really know what going out and partying is all. I've never done these things. I don't know what it's like to watch like the Freddy Krueger movies because I was never allowed to watch those. It's
Never.
like, and you see people, and I always tell people, you get two extremes of people that come out of these high control religious spaces. You either have the hyperactive person that's like into everything, doing everything wide open because they never got to experience anything. Or you've got the direct opposite of that, where they're just so
Right.
scared to do anything. But that's what religion does to us. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't give us a good framework to even start out our life from. So you do have adults that come out here, and some of them will end up like super hypersexual active, because
Yeah.
they've never experienced promiscuity, whatever, because they were
Yeah.
never allowed to. So now
Yeah.
you've got
Right.
30, 40-year olds that are living like they're in their early 20s.
And
And I
Darrel,
love it. I cheer it on for them because it's like you're
yeah.
getting to live for the first time in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Daryl, the other thing that Heather and I have discovered that and you may be able to touch on that a lot of the women who have come out of churches and stuff, we struggle with articulating our language. We
Yeah.
struggle with the words because we were taught if we used big words, we were trying to be bold, we were trying to be haughty, we were trying to be better than anybody else in the church. So we weren't allowed to use words that when I left were the cult, I realized that these were just normal words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when
Well,
I go to say a word, it will get stuck in my head. And I'm like, and it could be the simplest word. And I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I
well,
cannot put
I'm
the articulation to what I'm talking about.
I'm impressed because Heather just used a word I've never heard before, and that's promiscuity. I don't think I've ever heard.
You knew what I meant.
I didn't even say that. I didn't even hear that.
I did.
But my brain was, but that's exactly what we do. Like Heather and I will make a joke of it or we'll make bloopers of it. But what
Yep.
Yeah,
people don't understand that it is like really true life. I mean, even
it
Yeah.
college
is.
educated, we still struggle with
Yeah.
making sure that we shrink down instead of just owning who we are and what we
Yeah.
are today. It has been definitely a journey.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna start practicing promiscuity as soon as we get off here.
Daryl, can
But
I tell
but
you a secret?
well, let me say
Go
it
ahead.
does relate. My second book was Sex and God: How Religion Distorts Sexuality,
Oh, so badly.
and
We
and
That
need a
is
I
such a
wrote
copy.
good book. That's
I
We
such
need
a
a
good
wrote
book.
copy.
Yeah.
I wrote that book because I saw so many people coming out of religion that were clueless about their sexuality, and they had
Yes,
some really crazy, stupid ideas about what
Hmm.
our bodies are for, how we
absolutely.
operate, our drives,
It's
our
only to make
urges.
babies.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I wrote that book, and thousands of people have emailed me saying that book changed my life because I
yeah,
really do help religious people reframe what sexuality is in
yes,
their own terms, not in. I don't tell people what to do. I just say,
yes.
here's the facts. You do what you think you need to with those facts. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to tell you, Darrel, with my trauma therapist that I have now, I thought there was something wrong with me because when I would go out with friends in a bar, I would become so overstimulated that I'd have to leave. That
Oh, right.
I couldn't go out. If somebody asked me on a date and said, let's go to a bar, I was like, no. And I was like, so when I went to my trauma therapist, I'm like, there's something wrong with me. And she's like, well, she belongs to the LGBTQIA community. She's like, well, why do you think there's something wrong? And I was explaining to her. So she gave me a test to take. And
Oh,
it was just a fun test, but she just wanted to see where I stood. It was the kink test.
oh, cool. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Darrel, Darrel, I found
There were
out that
words
I
you
was,
did not know in that, did there?
oh my goodness, Darrel, I had to Google. It took me like 6 hours to finish that
She
test
didn't even
because
know
I
what
didn't
was.
know the words. That was
Uh,
3 years ago. I was
Oh.
51 years old. Okay. That was 3 years ago. And do you know, I came out being the most apostolic Pentecostal pure girl that there ever was to take a kink test.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop there. When I came back to her, I'm like, I can't do all of this. And she's like, do you know what a demi is? And I said, no. So she
Listen.
diagnosed me. We have a really good relationship. She goes, let me go through it. So she went through everything, and I was like, yes, 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 yes. I failed the kink test. My God, nobody's gonna want to date me, right? I'm like, and she looked at me. She goes, "Do you know there's nothing wrong with you? Do you know that you're a demi? You just have been so caught up in purity culture that you've always thought it was purity culture, and it has not been
yeah.
purity
Yeah.
culture because you've been this way. You've said since as early as you can remember." And I
Right.
was like, oh, you're kidding me. She gave
Yeah.
me my first purple, lavender, and gray flag.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there you go. All right.
And
Now
the
it's
reality
okay.
is though is she was diagnosed by a therapist. I didn't know I was bisexual till I was sitting in a therapist chair. It's the
Yeah.
same way, right? And
Yeah.
it's so messed up because I've been married to the same man for 28 years. We deconstructed together. Thank goodness for that. But
Yeah.
I didn't get to explore that other side of me when I was young enough to be able to enjoy that. And I'm still miffed about that. And I'm allowed to be mad about that, right? Because
Yeah.
I was denied part of myself.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
bothers me. But this is what happens when you raise people with a very narrow worldview of what love looks like, you know?
Yes. Right.
It's so messed up.
Yeah.
And
That's not
again,
Yeah.
all
love.
that does
That,
is continue to cause more harm, more
Yep.
yeah.
sexual deviancy, more shame, more perversion. Like it's crazy.
And
Well,
and and and,
it's
and I
such a
became divorced when I deconstructed. I became very single, very divorced, very everything. And I realized though, I didn't realize until 3 years ago when I walked away from a 15-year relationship, long term, thought I was going to marry him and it was going to be the happily ever after. Um, I didn't realize that I continuously um chose patterns. And I'm not saying that he was wrong or I was right, but for me to take accountability for the patterns that I continued to choose,
oh, right.
always made me go back to a patriarchal man because
Mm.
that was the safest that I had. Because if he didn't drink, he was of God. If he didn't smoke, he was of God. If he didn't cuss, he was of God. If he had a Bible in his house, he was of God. If he went to church, he was of God. If he loved his mama, he was of God.
And
But
that
an
meant he was a
atheist
good
man,
man. Yeah.
that was a good man. But an atheist man, they do all those things.
So they're evil. But it's crazy though, because now that we've deconstructed it, the atheists, the agnostics, the Satanists, all the druids, like whatever, they are the most respectful men that we are in community
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
They don't send us death threats. They don't send us the most grotesque messages talking about what they'd like to do to us, because we're having the audacity to speak out against this stuff.
They
Yeah.
always
And
ask consent.
yeah.
What do you know?
Blows my mind.
Well, I just found. Oh, and let me say that as a result of all that I mentioned earlier, we do have the methodologies for helping people exactly like you. We've got
Yeah.
online group you can join, but you have to, if you go to recoverfromreligion.org, there's a chat button on the website, and you can hit that chat button and talk to a volunteer.
Oh, that's
And
so cool.
they are very well trained volunteers. And when you tell them I'm coming out of a cult and I'm exploring my sexuality, within seconds they will give you resources that will be specific for your particular issue. If it's, I think I'm bisexual, I think I'm LGBTQ, I think I'm asexual, I
Yeah.
don't care. We've got thousands of resources that have been particularly vetted just for these things. So,
I want
and
to
you,
become a volunteer. I want to
uh, well,
I
Yeah,
want to
me
know how to
too.
do
Like,
this. Tell us how we do this.
you go to the website and you hit the volunteer button.
she
It's really,
said it's really just that simple, T.
well,
Obviously.
it's not that simple because our
Yeah.
I know.
volunteers, there's a wide range of things our volunteers do. You can call us. You
Yeah.
can literally call us from anywhere on the planet. You can chat with us from anywhere on the planet. And we try to be available 24 hours a day.
I
Now, we've
love
got
that.
volunteers in Europe. We've got volunteers in Perth, Australia. We got volunteers
South
in New
Africa?
Zealand. We did have a volunteer in South Africa. They're not active right now. But anyway, we've got
I
22
think
time
I
zones.
have some ideas.
Okay, all right. So what you do, you hit the volunteer button, Jezebel, and then you'll get scheduled for an interview.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, you have to read through a bunch of stuff because we got some requirements.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
just anybody can volunteer for us. You've got to really understand what we're asking for.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then you get interviewed, and if you pass the interview, and some people don't, why we interview people is we want to make sure you have deconstructed enough to
Mhm.
help other
Yes.
people. Some
Yes.
people are wanting to volunteer as
Yeah.
therapy for themselves, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
going to help our clients.
Yep.
No.
So once you pass the volunteers that piece, then you will be put into the self-paced training, and it's about 4 hours of self-paced training. You do it at your own time, your own speed. Take you a
Yeah.
day, it could take you a week. We don't care. And then when you're finished with the self-paced training, then you're assigned to a trainer. And then
Okay.
you'll get one-on-one or one-on-two training that's closely supervised. I'm going to tell you, you're going to learn shit you never knew you could learn.
I
We
love that.
we
Love
teach
it.
people we teach really good listening skills. Here's what you do because we're here to listen, not to tell. We're
Yes.
not to advise.
Yes.
We're not a deconstruction
Mm-mm.
Yes.
organization. We're here to help you in your journey, wherever you are in your journey, not where we think you should be in your
Oh
journey.
Yes.
yeah.
I
That's
love that.
So
important. It's
Yep.
so
it's
important.
it is very important. And then you'll go through literally weeks of one-on-one training. And it sounds like a lot, but it just you schedule it the way
Mhm.
you and
Yeah.
your trainer need it. And then once you're finished, you then decide where you want to go. Do you want to lead a group real life, face to face? Do you want to lead a group online?
Yeah.
Do
I
you want
love
to answer
this.
phones? Do you want to answer chats? Do you want to help us develop our website? All
Yeah.
sorts of stuff we need help with. And we have people who literally, I mean, we're 17 years old. I started 17 years ago. We've got
Wow.
volunteers that have been consistently volunteering for us for 11 years.
I love that.
And we got
That
a
is
lot of volunteers that have
awesome.
been with us for 5 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
people,
That's so incredible.
yeah,
It's
people
so
love doing
important.
this work.
It's so important. I know in social work I did the crisis line and the
Yeah, yeah,
for and I had to do 180 hours of crisis line and then commit to 10 hours a week at the crisis center.
yeah,
And I realized while I did that it's really important. I mean, here I talk because I'm on a podcast, but when you have somebody calling in and they're at the lowest place in their lives,
Yeah.
the only
yeah,
thing they need is an ear that's going to
yeah,
listen to them and somebody who's going to be able to say, not tell them anything, but just let them know that they're safe and they can say,
Yeah.
like if I would have had these kind of things when I first left, I know I'd been so much further on my journey, but I was so afraid
Yep.
to tell anybody
Yeah.
that
Yes.
I had
Same.
left. It
Same.
was just like, I'll just be a mama, raise my kids out of
Yep.
church and out of religion, just wing it by the seat of my pants, you know, and
Yeah.
but here we are today
We
talking
didn't
to
Yeah.
you.
we didn't, it took, how long it took me, but it took us a long time to be honest with people in our family
Right.
about we
Right.
don't believe any of this anymore. And honestly, it took a certain family member passing away
Mm,
before we fully came out with the fact that, I'm agnostic, he's atheist, like we don't
Yeah.
believe what y'all do anymore. But we didn't even want to hurt a member of our family because they were dying and we didn't want them to have to worry about our eternal souls while they're on their deathbed, right?
Yeah.
So we
Right.
kept that to ourselves until after that family member passed away because we didn't want to hurt them. Like we didn't want anything malicious in this or think, we are just completely against you now.
Yeah.
No, I'm against harm. And that's what I talk about all the time. I'm against harm. I'm against false doctrine. I am against the things that are used to manipulate, harm, and abuse people within these religious spaces. And that's what I talk about. I talk about the way the Bible is weaponized on a regular basis. And I talk about the victims that are produced from that. And I talk about the body count. I always say the church has a body count
Yeah.
and
It
they don't want
does.
to acknowledge it, but it has
Yeah.
a
every
body count and
church.
it only keeps getting bigger, right?
Yeah.
And but organizations like yours give me so much hope because we are
Yes.
pulling the wool off the eyes of this. We are exposing this harm for what it is. And the church can only go so far to get away from it now, right? Because again, when we first started deconstructing, I didn't know that all these things existed. I didn't know that there were books out there, that other people had walked this journey. And it seems like the longer that I deconstruct, the more I see that there are so many of us.
Yeah.
And it's just that we're not typically all together in one space to really know how many of us there are. So it doesn't seem like there's very many, but I promise you, there are thousands of us out here,
Well,
you
we
know?
we deal with tens of thousands of phone calls and
Yeah,
chats and attendees at our meetings. I mean, from every country on the practically every country on the planet.
yeah,
I mean, you can attend,
Amazing.
for example, and we have specialized in some ways because the need sometimes is very unique. For example, we have an all women's group that meets on West Coast Australian time, so to speak, and we we started it because we kept having women say, "Can we have an all women's group?" Because there's women's issues
yeah,
around religious recovery that you know.
absolutely.
That
So
men
we
don't
started
have
it.
to,
Yes.
that men don't have.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
right.
talk
So
about that often, Heather and
Yeah.
I, that men don't face the same issues deconstructing as
right.
women do
It's because
because
So
we
we,
hear totally different
we started
messaging.
the
Yep.
we started the women's group, and to our surprise, I mean, we got a few to start with, but all of a sudden we're getting 20 and 30 showing up every meeting,
I
and we
love
had to
that.
start dividing the meeting up because we have kind of a rule. We don't like to exceed about 8 or 10 people per meeting
Yeah,
because we want everybody to have a chance to give their story. So then
exactly.
we started another one that was on East Coast European friendly time. The same thing happened. So all we have two all women's groups. Well, then some of our male volunteers said, "Why don't we having a all males group? Because men have
Yeah,
different." So we started an all male group, and that blew up too. And then in the meantime, we've got an all LGBT group. We've got a Black non-believers group.
I
We've
love
got
it.
we've got ex Mormons. We got ex Jehovah's Witnesses. We got Baptists. So we got all
I love it.
these subgroups, and you can come online and join them. You can't find
Yeah,
them though on the internet. You can't search because it's a
yeah,
private group inside of
Mhm.
yes.
the Slack application. But if you want to talk to other ex-Mormons, if you want to talk to other people going Black non-believers, because we have a Black non-believers groups
Yes.
because
Mhm.
And that's
Black
so important
religion
too.
is
Yes, the Black
yeah,
church experience is so different from the white church experience.
yes,
And
right,
I have sat and listened to many Black people talk about those differences, because I was raised in the white church. So I didn't
yeah,
experience the same things that they did.
yep,
And it's really good that we do have those resources for them too. Like
Yeah.
everybody needs a place where they can find their people, so to speak, or people that can share an experience with them. And that's
And
really what
feel
it's about, you know?
and feel safe to
Yes.
expose themselves and be vulnerable, because
Mm-hmm.
that's
Hmm.
really the beauty and the value and the therapeutic value. And we are not
Yes.
therapists.
No.
Our volunteers aren't
Yeah.
therapists, but they will refer you to the Secular Therapy Project if they,
Yes.
if
Which
you want
blows my
help.
mind.
Yep, right. And I would encourage people to go to the Secular Therapy Project and just look at it.
Yeah.
And even if you're not interested in therapy, if you want to understand why it's important, go and hit the button to apply as a therapist. I know that sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but apply as a therapist and it'll show you all the things that we're asking of therapists. You don't
Yeah.
need to do anything more. Just read what we require of therapists.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you'll realize that you really need a secular therapist if you're in deconstruction, because too
Yep.
many therapists are religious and they bring their
Yes.
religious bullshit into the therapy. And
Absolutely.
that's wrong. It's unethical. And
It
yet
is.
they get away with it all the time.
Yes, it
All the
is.
time.
My daughter, when, she was going to therapy, that was one of the struggles that she faced because her therapist was very much a Christian. And she went into therapy knowing that, right? But it was closer towards the end of, her therapy that Christian, it started to have a conflict there with where it
Mhm.
is that my daughter was wanting to go with her healing. She could only go so far with that particular therapist because of her indoctrinated beliefs, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
that's what, the big difference is. And me, even myself, when I went to find a trauma therapist, I had to wait for months to get into the therapist that I chose because I waited for a religious trauma therapist that is not going to be cramming this crap down my throat because I knew I couldn't heal. Like, I cannot heal in the same environment that made me sick. So, a
Yeah,
Christian
exactly.
therapist is not going to be able to help me heal from Christian trauma. Like,
Hmm.
that's not going to work.
And
We'll give you we'll give
I
you the
found my
disease,
trouble.
then we'll help you. We'll give you the disease, then I will tell you our church can heal that disease.
Yes,
Exactly,
yes.
exactly, exactly. And my trauma therapist is she's deconstructed. She's a pagan, LGBTQIA, and I found her at the women's shelters that does
There you go.
therapy
Yeah,
for Turning Point.
yep,
And I
Excellent.
don't know, back in the day, I would say that was a sign, that was a wonder, that was a calling.
yeah.
But
A
her and
flying
I did
spaghetti
like,
monster sign.
right.
So, Daryl, I got to ask, since you work with all these people, what's one of the craziest deconstruction stories you've ever heard?
Oh my gosh.
I know it's so random, but I just want to.
Well, it's not just random. It's wild because we get those every day.
Every day.
This
Yes.
is I'd have a hard time, except um well I get I won't go. I mean, I could talk all day about it, so I don't want to bore us all with it. But I've
Not
seen
boring.
this, people coming out of really high control religions, cults that were so insular that the person that I was interacting with had never watched a movie before. And
Yeah.
That's me. Can I tell you
so,
something, Daryl? I didn't know that Vietnam happened during my lifetime. I didn't
oh,
know that Elvis Presley was a part of my childhood in the 70s. I didn't
oh,
know that these historical events
Or cultural references. We didn't know those
references
things,
I
right?
didn't
yeah,
have them. I didn't even
yeah,
know who they were, or
Yeah.
I didn't know what Elvis looked like. I didn't know what Michael Jackson looked like. I didn't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it was like blows me away. But what's the saddest part about it is I was 28 years old sitting in my psychology class for the first time when it hit me that what had happened to me all my life was not only illegal, it was wrong.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know CSA and SA and domestic
yeah,
violence was wrong.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I
right.
didn't even know to question it because we're not allowed to talk to teachers in schools. We're not allowed to go outside to Egypt for help. We weren't allowed to go to anybody to figure out what's going on. So I
Yep.
had left the cult, moved to Michigan, went to college, and I remember my psychology professor saying, Tamara, will you stay after class, please? And I looked at
Oh,
her because somebody was talking about, this being illegal and somebody needing to go into jail. And I just sat in my chair in the classroom and I just kept crying. I couldn't even speak. I
wow,
just sat there
wow.
Yeah.
crying, but my professor saw me and she's like, stay after class. And she was the one that put me into therapy. She was like, I don't want you to leave the social work program, but I want you to make sure you have a therapist. And that's actually when I started realizing how disturbing
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was raised.
And
yeah,
it's the same way for me because I didn't realize how evil my upbringing had been because my father was a horribly abusive man. And he's a pastor. So he would be the good, righteous person out in public. And
yeah,
he performed
right.
it so well. Like everybody loves my father, even to this day. But behind closed doors, he was a totally different animal. And I didn't
Yeah,
Monster.
realize that that wasn't normal, right? Like my dad would say, well, if you tell on me, I'll give you a reason for the cops to show up,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So we were
Mm-hmm.
always terrified of my father. So, and we didn't realize that what was happening to us was wrong, that we were
yeah.
being so horribly abused and manipulated and traumatized by him. And it wasn't until I had experience out in the real world and started sharing stories from my childhood. Like I
Hmm.
shared this story. My dad tied something around my neck one time for grins and giggles, and I passed out. Okay.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh. Wow.
my dad thought that was funny. Like he would trade punches with me for fun. That's how he interacted with me. It was either physical violence or degrading me in some way, my appearance or picking on me for a mistake I had made, something like that.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't realize that those things were abusive because my mother, she was part of that system too. And she always made excuses for him and said, well, you just
Sure.
know how your dad is. You know
He's
Yeah,
how
being
he is.
funny.
yeah,
He's just being a little rough today. That's what she would say when I would walk away from him with a limp because he had
yeah,
punched me in the leg too hard.
yeah,
And now I look back on all that and it's because of the environment that I was raised in that I didn't even
yeah.
know I was being abused. It was because I was so sheltered that I didn't know what was happening to me was wrong. And what's really messed up is all the other people that were in community with us that knew who my dad really was, they didn't protect me either
Mm-mm.
No, no, that.
because you
Oh,
don't challenge the man of God.
And
Who
Darrel,
are
I
you?
often have
I'd
exactly,
like
and
to. I'd
I
like
often
to.
have. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to recommend viewers and you to go and search religious trauma and your brain.
Yeah.
It's a talk I gave in London in October, and I talk about the three parts of the brain that are impacted by trauma, by specifically religious trauma.
Yeah.
And I think I've found teaching clients, teaching people how the brain works and how trauma impacts the brain helps people start processing that a little bit more effectively. And so anyway, go look, just Google religious trauma in your brain, Darrel Ray, London, whatever, you'll get it. And watch, it's got a graphic. I've got a graphic in there that shows how the three components of the brain, how they operate. It's just something you don't see anybody talking about, the
Yeah.
psychology of religious
Yes.
trauma.
And we have talked on this show many times about how religious trauma literally rewires your neural pathways in your brain. And
Exactly.
again, that was something that I didn't know until I started going to therapy and learning
Yeah,
more about
right.
trauma, how it affects us, and how, that trauma is stored in our body and all that good stuff. You don't realize how damaged you are by this faith until that damage is inescapable, so to speak.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? At
And
least that's the way it
sometimes,
was for me.
Your
exactly.
limbic
And
system was being trained by your father's violent behavior.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
absolutely,
hitting your limbic system, and
Yes.
your
not
and your.
only his, but the other men in the church, because
Yeah.
Oh
we
yeah,
knew
yeah,
we were not allowed to go to Egypt for help. And if we did, we would be beat within an inch of our lives if we would talk to a teacher or a police officer. And that was the biggest problem, is that I went to the church when everything was happening, and then the pastor stood me up the next night. I thought I was going to my pastor in confidence saying, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Now, he raised me since I was a baby, and he brought me up in front of the church, put my husband on the front pew, made me and my children sit on the back pew, and then made me tell in detail to everybody in that church of 150 people exactly what I told him the day before in confidence.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then he
But guess
showed
what I
Wow.
her.
did? And guess what I did? I told everybody. I didn't even know. People were like, "Well, why didn't you just leave?" I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? I didn't know what to leave.
Go where?
Right. Yeah.
Where do I leave? I have
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
babies, and I was being, I won't even
Wow.
say, but it's like, where do you go?
Yep.
You don't have an education. You've never worked in the community. You've
Yeah.
never had a job. What do you do?
Yep.
And so people like you and organizations like this is so important.
It
And
is.
actually, I'm going to be going down a whole rabbit hole
Me too.
whenever we
Me
get
too.
done.
Me too. Me too. So I just want to ask you, because we always ask people as we're winding down the show here, if you knew somebody who is just coming out of high control religious spaces, what kind of advice would you offer for them besides checking out your site and what you have to offer? Because you're different than the rest of our guests. You actually have a lot to offer people.
Well, I'm not. I'm going to disobey that if I could. I'm going to say yes. Go to recoveringfromreligion.org. Hit the chat
Absolutely.
button. Talk to
Yes.
somebody. Listen. Have somebody who's willing and able to listen to you. That would be my overall thing. But remember,
Yeah.
one of the key goals of recovering from religion is to help people find their community because
Yes.
they were thrown out of their community. They were
Yes.
disfellowshipped. They were shunned. We want to help you find your new community, and that may be an online community or maybe right here in town. We have a face-to-face group here in Kansas City that meets at least once, sometimes twice a month, and we'll get 14, 13, 14 people showing up every time to sit
Yeah.
down and tell their stories, and it's very healing.
Mhm.
So I think my overall advice is find your new community.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do that, start with Recovery from Religion. We can help.
Yes.
Our database has thousands of groups. I can find you a humanist group in Detroit if you that's where you are. I
Yes.
can find you a
Yes.
humanist group in Berlin, Germany, if that's what you want.
I love it.
And we can
And I
also help
belong to
you.
the atheist community and the Black non-believer community in Detroit area.
Yeah.
Oh
They're my
yeah,
personal
yeah.
friends.
The
Yeah.
Queen,
So, yes,
Detroit
the
Queen.
queen.
Yeah.
Yes, we love her. We love
Kelly.
her. She's been on our show.
I I
Kelly is
was
a
I
dear
I was
friend.
I was just on her show recently too. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Love
So that
Kelly.
that would be my advice. The second thing I would say is if you're dealing with trauma, which a lot of people are, especially if you came out of a high control group, if you came out of a Presbyterian church or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episcopalian, it's those Jehovah's Witnesses, it's
Yes.
the Mormons,
Mormons, the
it's those
IB, LP
LDS.
people. Yes. Yep.
absolutely.
Apostolic Pentecostals.
Then
Yes.
then I would say go find a good therapist because
Yeah.
here's what's gonna happen. You can spend the next 5 or 10 years deconstructing,
Yeah.
or you can go to a therapist and get the job done in 2 years
Oh my
or
gosh,
one
if I
or
would
one
have went
year.
to therapy sooner, exactly. I could have
Yeah,
gotten to certain points a whole lot faster. I just know it. But
right. So you will reduce the time it takes for you to deal with this trauma because it is a
yes.
trauma. And
Yep.
you're reprogramming your brain, you're reprogramming your limbic system, you're reprogramming your insula, you're changing and adapting your attachment systems. Those are the three I talk about in my talk in
Yes.
London. And then the way you do that is you find a new community, and that community will help you in many ways you can't even imagine. Second, you get
Yes.
a therapist who is not religious. Go to the Secular Therapy Project.
Yeah.
And if you can't find somebody in our system, you probably can. We've got almost 1,200 registered therapists in 9 different countries. I'm sorry, 11 different countries. So we know we've got therapists that could probably help you. But
Yeah.
if you can't find a therapist, at least make sure the therapist you do find is secular.
Yeah.
Don't be do not, and I'm this is the one time I give advice. Do not go to a therapist
No.
who's
Yep.
religious and any if they have supernatural ideas, then they do not understand
No.
therapy.
They do
That
not.
Exactly.
that simple.
Yeah.
And
That
I
is
speak
such the
from
Well,
truth. That is such the
yes.
truth.
Well,
and they may
Darrell,
be this they may have the same training as a good therapist over
yes.
here, but they've still got
But
that
it's
religious
tainted
bullshit in
by
there.
the lens of their religious perspective because everything they're going to tell you is viewed through that lens.
Yep.
Everything is going to be touched by that.
Not
So,
Yep.
only that,
Darrell,
you can tell. Wait, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, you're
You can
good. Go ahead.
also tell because they have code languages.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you've been in religion or religious spaces or high controlled religion, when you're
Mm-hmm.
talking to somebody who is a therapist or who is a doctor or who is a dentist, you immediately can feel the codes that they use in their language.
Yep.
Yep.
You can. And
I
it's
mean, that's what I
intentional.
label it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's intentional on their part. Yep.
Yes.
Well, Darrell, I just want to say thank you for taking this time out of your day to sit down and chat with us today, share your organization with us. I am so grateful for you and the resources that you do provide to people. As always, I will put all your links in the show notes for your
Good.
books and your talks and the website and the Secular Therapy Project, because we want our listeners to be able to have access to these resources because
Mhm.
they're invaluable resources. And
Yep.
again, like I cannot say thank you enough for everything that you're doing because it gives me so much hope. Because
Yes.
again, when I started this, I felt like I was all alone. But for you saying that you are in 11 countries, we are doing something, man.
Yeah,
And that
we
is
are.
awesome. Like that
We're
is praiseworthy right there.
we even got incorporated in Australia. We are now an official corporate nonprofit in
Woo!
Australia as well, and New Zealand.
I love it.
We're
So,
expanding. We're growing
yeah.
enormously. Now, let me add one thing that is
Okay, go for it.
way off topic.
No, do it.
I'm a busy person. I'm always doing some shit. Anyway, in January we started a brand new initiative. I was way too busy in the previous years to do this, but I've started a brand new initiative on we're calling it the Institute for Secular Leadership, and I am training leaders in the secular world, leaders of your local humanist group, your skeptics group, the local atheist group. I don't care, but if you're a
Yeah,
leader in the secular world,
I love it.
we are training, and you can go to secularleadership.org, and
Yeah.
we've got an 8 session course on how to be an effective leader because churches have leadership courses
Yes.
all over the place, but
Yes.
Yes.
we have never bothered to train leaders in the secular world. How
Yeah.
can we compete with the churches if we don't have good leadership in the secular world?
Absolutely. Oh, now you're preaching, Darrell. Now you're
And
preaching.
the next,
You just
if
made my anti-theist, feral atheist heart just
So
start
happy.
singing.
Just fluttering over
well,
here.
going through this 8 session course, and they're 2 hours each over a period of about 16 weeks, you will receive a certificate in secular leadership and ethical governance. That's the title of the certificate. And we want I would my goal is to train 1,000 leaders in the next 10 years. And those leaders will know how to ethically lead and use techniques that are unique to secular. You don't lead secular people like you lead
Yeah.
religious people. You
No.
can't tell
Absolutely.
No. Yep.
seculars are skeptics. They're asking questions.
Yes.
And
We
so
question everything once we get out of that system.
absolutely. And I know how to lead as a religious leader. I did it. But
Yeah.
more importantly, I know how to lead as a secular leader. And I think there's a huge difference. I
Yeah.
want the secular world to get stronger and stronger and start serving people like you, and
Serving
even people
humanity.
who've never been
Yes.
religious can still use this training. So go to
Absolutely.
secularleadership.org
Okay.
and look at our courses.
Okay,
I'm
well,
going to
thank you
do
so
that.
much. I love this. Thank you so much for
Yep,
providing us with such incredible resources and things that we have that we can look into. And heck, even if we want to volunteer, we can do that too, which I'm definitely going to
absolutely.
be checking into that myself because I would love to get a group started
I
up in my area. Like, I would love
Yep.
that more than anything.
Oh yeah, and I can tell you that I have volunteered my hours and time being a social worker, and it was always had to be connected with a religious group because when you're doing the volunteer work, it's only a church that you usually have to go
Yeah.
through, right? That's what
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't even know. It is so empowering to sign up to clean up my neighborhood and do it as an atheist with our
Yeah.
atheist or our
Yeah.
black non-believers communities or whatever we're doing. Or I live close to Sarnia and our Bajas across the
Oh
bridge,
yeah. Right.
Steve and stuff. It's just so amazing to be able to do these things and not have to put a Christian label to being good and doing good.
Right.
yes, yes.
Are either of you going to the World Humanist Conference in August?
I
Is
am
that the
not going.
Baja Or no,
No,
where's
it's
that one
different.
at? Oh, it's
I
different.
won't be in Baja. I mean, I love Baja, and I've got all my friends go there, but I'm not there this year. But the World Humanist Conference is taking place, I think, the second weekend of August, and it
Oh,
only
cool.
happens once every 4 years.
Oh,
So
Oh,
wow. Cool.
we will be there in Ottawa, Canada. We'll be there as Recover from Religion and the
Yeah.
Leadership Institute, and I'll be on a panel speaking. But also, I just want people to know that the absolute best independent conference is NanoCon in Nashville,
mhm.
Tennessee, and it's taking place the first weekend of August, July 31st. It starts. Anyway, I'll be giving a talk. We'll be tabling there, but all the best people go to NanoCon.
I
There'll
know,
be
That's so
I
cool.
know, because Kelly will be there. Like I was supposed to go to the ARC experience last
oh
weekend
right,
with her, and now I was supposed to go to NanoCon, and life happened to me this year,
yeah.
But I'm
Well,
planning on it next year.
all right. Well, it's the best, and anyway.
Heather.
The reason I say if you're either one of those, come say hi to us.
Oh,
Okay.
We
That's awesome.
love to see people.
And to
without a
our
doubt,
oh,
we'll be there.
And to our listeners, we just want to say thank you guys for sitting down and listen to us ramble on about religious deconstruction once again. We appreciate you guys being here so much because with your support, we can continue to do this work. We can continue to elevate the voices of people that are helping people that have been harmed and elevate the stories of people that have been harmed by these oppressive religious systems. If you like this show, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you ever want to be a guest, just shoot us an email at theawakeningpod@gmail.com.
And just to everybody, thank you for joining us today. Our voices together, we are stronger. We are harmed within the context of a relationship, and we are healed within context of relationships. And it's so important for us to join together, becoming stronger and elevating each other's voices and stories. Thank you for joining us today. Darrel, thank you so much for being a part of our show.
Thank
And I
you
hope you
so
come
much.
back.
Yes, we do. We have
Well,
enjoyed this. You have been just an amazing guest, and we are just honored to be able to sit down with you today. So thank you.
glad to do it. You're welcome. Let me know anytime. Happy to.
If I drown, would you pull me back to you? If I drown.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2026.